Hello and welcome to another. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to go live on Instagram. Okay, looks like we're live over there too.
Yay.
Welcome to another fabulous episode of the Killer Author Club. We are here with Freida McFadden, who will be telling us about her latest thriller, The Teacher. We have tons to talk about, so grab your cocktail, your list of questions for Freida, and strap in. We will see you on the flip side.
Thought you really loved me, guess I was wrong. Thought you'd never leave me, guess I was dumb. Waited like forever to be your plus one, but I guess you were done.
Hello to all our new members and to the OGs wherever you are watching, Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, where you can be streaming us to your big flat screen on the wall. We are so glad to have you here. I'm Killer Kimberly Bell, along with founding members Heather Gudenkoff and Kara Bruda. And the two killers and I are so excited to be welcoming Freida McFadden to talk about her upcoming novel, The Teacher, and all things killing, of the fictional kind, of course. Make sure to drop your questions for Freida in the comments. The killers and I will be scouring them to ask of our killer guest. But in the meantime, Heather, would you please do the honors and introduce our guest?
I would love to. New York Times, Amazon Charts, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Sunday Times, and Publishers Weekly best-selling author Freida McFadden is a practicing physician specializing in brain injury who has penned multiple best-selling psychological thrillers and medical humor novels. Freida's work has been selected as one of Amazon Editor's Best Books of the Year. She is the winner of the International Thriller Writers Award for Best Paperback, and she is a Goodreads Choice Award winner. Her novels have been translated into over 30 languages. Freida lives with her family and black cat in a centuries-old 3-story home overlooking the ocean, with staircases that creak and moan with each step. And nobody could hear you if you scream, unless you scream really, really loud. Maybe. Hello, Freida. Welcome to the Killer Author Club. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad you could join us to talk about your newest book, The Teacher.
I love it too.
And we're going to dive into it in just a minute. But for now, can you give us the elevator pitch for The Teacher?
Well, it's about a teacher, surprisingly, named Eve, and she's a math teacher at a school. And her path intersects with a student in her class named Addie. And Addie had a scandal the year before involving another teacher. And it's sort of what happens between these two women as their paths intersect and bad stuff happens. So that's all I can say.
Yes, right. No spoilers.
No spoilers here.
Free zone. Right. Yes. And we loved it. We have lots of questions for you. And a reminder to everyone, drop your questions for Freida into the comments for us to add to our list. But first, Kara.
Yes. All right. So the killers love our cocktails and mocktails, as you guys know. So every episode, we ask our killer guests to come equipped with a favorite and recipes for tonight's drink. And all the killer cocktails that have come before are at killerauthorclub.com under the tab Killer Cocktails. Freida chose the Blood and Sand as her special drink tonight. Freida, do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah. Any book that starts out with somebody digging a grave, I felt like Blood and Sand was a good drink. Blood and Dirt would have been better, but no drink. So I have mine here. It's Scotch, vermouth, orange juice, cherry liqueur, and it's delicious.
Wow, that's amazing. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay. So Sorry, I was slurping my tea. So the Killers and I started the Killer Author Club back in Corona times so that readers like you can interact with some of the best suspense and thriller authors in the biz. Our winter-spring lineup includes superstars like B.A. Paris, the Lisas, Lisa Gardner, Lisa Scottolini, Chris Bojalian, Mary Kubica, and so many more. Dates, times, past episodes, and much more can all be found on killerauthorclub.com. But tonight we're here to talk about The Teacher, Freida's much anticipated 22nd novel. Holy crap.
Right.
A chilling story of twisted secrets and long awaited revenge. Here are a couple of quotes from First Clue. Secrets are everywhere in this sparkling narrative that moves like a Japanese bullet train, offering plenty of surprises along the way. Superb. The Teacher rivets, says Publishers Weekly, which gave it a starred review. Oh my goodness, the moment I lay eyes on any Freida McFadden book, I find myself canceling everything in my life. Her latest should be promoted as the literary equivalent of Pringles. Once you pop open the book, there's no stopping. And that's from a Goodreads reviewer, Nilofer Osmekic. I hope I say that correctly. So Freida, now we need to know your answer to the killer question. When do you kill?
Well, I would have to say that I kill when everyone else is asleep. Because who can get anything done when everyone in the house is awake, right? There's like, we're training our cat. That's happening in the room with me. There's homework to be done. There's dinner to be made. And finally, when everyone else is asleep, I get to kill.
So sneaky killings. I like it.
Yeah,
That's the best time. I mean, it's kind of a traditional killing time, night time. So I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if everyone's asleep during the day, I'll do it that. In fact, everyone is pretty much asleep in my house till noon. So early morning is a great time to kill.
There you go.
I love it. Well, and I think that it's a good answer for this book in particular, especially because it opens with someone digging a grave. Like that's your first line. I did a first line Friday on my Instagram because it was such a great line. It says something like, "It's hard work digging a grave," which I mean, I don't know about you guys.
I would imagine.
So, but we don't know who's digging. We don't know who's dead. But we know it's a fun start and that we need to know the answers to all these questions. So when you were writing, is that like where you started in the story in your head, or did that prologue come later and you filled it in?
I always write completely chronological. Like I can't, some people say that they write in like these weird orders and like start at the middle and then go back. I always have to write chronologically. And I mean, it's not like I can't go back if I need to. Like, no, I didn't, have that in originally. But I like to just start at the beginning. So I don't really remember writing it, but I must have written it first because that's how I always do it.
That's funny. You don't remember writing it? How long ago did you write this book?
When did I write it? I guess it was about a year or two ago, a year and a half ago. No, when is it? It's 2024. Sorry, I just need a minute. I finished it.
We all did.
Down that. Yeah. I like it.
I think I wrote it about a year and a half to 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. Well, this question I had too. I think a couple of us had this question, but our main character Eve loves herself some designer shoes. Jimmy Choo's, Louis Vuitton, Manolos, and a bunch of other brands that she can't afford on the salary of a high school math teacher. And as a former teacher, I can attest to that. You can't afford any fancy shoes, really. Do you happen to have a shoe obsession, or does somebody you know have one, or was that unique to the character of Eve?
I know a lot of women who are really into shoes. Like, I am not one of these women. I'm going to just like hold up what I'm wearing right now, which is
I love it.
which, lately I've just kind of only been wearing, like occasionally I'm forced to go out and I kind of wish I could just go about town in my car in these. But yeah, I'm not like that into shoes. I'm not a girly girl. So, but I know a lot of women who are really into shoes, and I watch Sex in the City every episode. So, like, I feel like I'm honorary, like, into shoes a little bit.
Right. Well, you can write about them. That's what's fun. You can kind of
Right. They are pretty until you put them on your feet and then you hate them, right?
No, I just don't understand. Like, what's the deal with those shoes with like that end in a point? Because I don't see my feet are not shaped like that. Those don't look like they would feel good. Like, I'm not sure how I would walk in them. Like, I need a woman to explain that to me.
Sitting shoes.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, I think people's feet do end up becoming a triangle if they wear those too much. Because I have a friend and I looked down and she was like in flip flop, but her toes were triangles from being in those things. But that's we'll talk about. Okay, so anyway, my question is, I love the push and pull between Eve and her husband Nate. He's also a teacher, and she describes him as handsome and charming in the same breath she wishes he'd drive off the road and put them both out of their misery. But then we hear from Nate and we don't know who to believe. Is it hard to keep their stories straight and position them both so the readers don't know which character to trust?
I mean, I knew from the beginning who, the bad guy was. So, yeah, I mean, I think I struggled a little when I was writing it with Nate, just to like make him the way I pictured him in my head. Like, sometimes characters are exactly like, you start writing and it's exactly what you pictured in your head and it's like perfect. And I think with this one, I think I struggled a little bit more than with others, but I actually think the books I struggle more, they come out better. So maybe it was a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it works.
I'm going to take that to heart because I'm writing a book that I'm struggling with now. So hopefully it'll come out better. I'm looking for the comment. I had a bunch of people in here saying that they're teachers. Oh, wait, here it is. Wait. No, I lost it again. They move so quickly. Someone was asking what made you decide to write about teachers?
I think I was actually more writing, even though the book is called The Teacher, I was more writing about teenagers. And I have a teenager. And like in some ways, my own maybe having a teenager makes you remember what it's like to be a teenager. So it all feels very fresh in my mind. So I think it was more in my head about a high school student and their interaction with the teacher than being about a teacher. But like, I have a lot of teachers in my life too. Like my mother was a teacher for, I think about, 10, 15 years, high school teacher. She taught biology, not math. So, I feel like it's something that, I could relate to a lot. So, but yeah, for me, it was more like, I felt like in a way, Addie was the main character in this book rather than Eve, although arguable.
Yeah. And she was great. I loved, when I was reading her, I was like, I don't know if I need to be believing everything that she's saying, but I felt real sympathy for her. And I was kind of rooting for her through the whole story. Was that something that you did intentionally?
Oh, definitely. I felt so much sympathy for her. And like, I worked with my amazing editor, Jenna, at Source Books. And just like we talked about ways to make her more sympathetic and really hammer home that like, she's, the good guy here. So so there are some themes like bullying and stuff like that made me relate to her more because we've all kind of had, not all we've all, but I've had experiences like that, not in high school but at other times in my life. So I definitely felt for her. I wanted to give her a big hug while I was writing it.
We all did, and that was what was so great about the book. I find myself going from chapter to chapter and character to character thinking, well, do I trust them? Should I trust them? And the twist, because you're the queen of twists. And so Library Journal called this one unexpected and brilliantly executed. But what comes to you first, the story or the twist?
I think I would say the story comes first, but I will never, ever, ever start writing before I have the twist. And I really wanted to write this about, the high school student and this relationship. And I didn't have a twist. And then when I came up with that final big twist, I was like, now I could write it. So I was happy.
Okay,
but I was not willing to even give it a go until I had that in my head.
And that's a doozy.
Yeah.
That's a doozy. Because you just think everything's all wrapped up with a nice little bow, and then wham.
Yeah. I have, some people say they don't read epilogues. I'm like, please read my epilogues because the story is not complete. Sometimes the epilogue is like the most important part of the book. I'm like, please read it. It's very important.
And that twist, I think, well, the whole book, but for book clubs, will just really provide some great fodder for book discussion.
Yeah.
Even that last epilogue or last few pages, there's a lot to talk about there, and in a bigger scheme of things. So book clubs will love it.
I know we can't talk about it here, but I'm excited to hear people's thoughts on it as more people read it.
Yeah. People love your twist too. Everybody keeps commenting about
There's so many comments coming in. I'm like trying to keep up with them.
I know. They keep flipping by before I can grab them.
I know. I'm like, oh, that was a good one. Oh, see, I'm not even on the right page of comments now.
My screen is small, then I'll see a comment, and then the screen will get big again, and it's gone.
Yeah, there you go.
What's happening to me?
Who doesn't read an epilogue? That's really a thing. That's like not reading a prologue. Exactly.
A lot of people don't read prologue. To be honest, sometimes I will give them a try, but sometimes it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, and I'll skip them because I don't know. If it's too long, I just get bored and I'll just skip the prologue.
But yours
That's
starts
terrible,
out. But yours started out with action, which for me feels like part of the story already. And even if it's, something that happened after or before or whatever, I want to read it. I want to know what's going on so that I can, it's also such a big part of the fun of a book, trying to figure out what's going on,
Right.
I
love that, starting with something where you don't know what's, you're kind of dropped in the middle. You don't know what's happening. You don't even know who it's happening to. And then just 3 months later, and then kind of getting to that point.
I agree. All right. So I think we talked about this before. Your fans on Goodreads and on socials. Here are what some of them had to say. A Freida book always gets me out of a slump. If Freida McFadden writes it, I'm going to buy it. Freida McFadden never fails to deliver, and it goes on and on and on, which is all amazing, wonderful praise. But I can imagine from my writer's standpoint, also a lot of pressure. Do you feel that when you sit down to write a story? And if so, how do you get past it?
Totally. I mean, I think I was just having this conversation with my husband. I was like, it's so much pressure now. You have to be amazing. But, I started doing this for fun. I never meant for it to be a career. And I feel like, if I'm enjoying myself writing a book, I've already won. It doesn't matter if people like it. I am just having fun, doing my thing, writing my books that I've been doing since I was 9 years old. And if people like them, that's great. If they don't like them, then I'd be a little sad. I'm not going to lie. But, I have to just remember that this is something I do that makes me happy. I like writing these books. So I'm just going to keep doing it. If no one published them, if no one bought them, I'd still be writing them because I was writing them before people were reading them. So
yeah, that's a great attitude.
That. And I'm gonna remember that, because sometimes you do get swept up in the whole, not just pressures of your readers, but of, deadlines, and when a
Yeah.
story isn't quite coming out the way you want it, what you've done wrong, if you've taken a wrong turn, like all the things that can happen. And it's good to remember the reason why we did it in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The twists are the most pressure, though, because for me, like, apparently I've written 22 books. Thank you for saying that, because I never could have come up with that number, first of all. And second, like, I have to come up with a twist that's not only, unique, but unique for me too. So it's like, okay, I already had a book where the mom did it. I already had a book where the dad did it. I already had a book where his sister did it, brother did it. And it has to get more and more wild, because, like, I've already done it. So it can't just be unique. It has to also be different from things that I've already done. So the rules become more and more elaborate.
Mhm.
So although it's like a challenge for me, like I
That's awesome.
did it that way.
Well,
Great.
you've met that challenge for sure.
So how long does it take you to write a book? What's your answer to that question? Because you're so prolific.
And Chris K asked that too. She also wants to know.
It's there are different parts of it. So, like, from conceiving the idea to actually having a final draft, I mean, that could take years. But, like, my process is I usually get the idea, I think it out for a few months. Sometimes it takes a little while to get to the top of my idea queue. And then I'll start writing. And the writing itself is really quick. That can be just like a couple weeks. But then the editing can also...
You and Kara.
How do you do it?
The editing can take like months or years also.
Yeah, and that's because that's a lot of, hurry up and wait, right? So you're waiting for feedback, and then you have to, work through it, and then you send it out and wait for feedback again. That is always a long process, but
Right.
I'm amazed. How do you write a book in 2 weeks? You guys need to teach me.
Me too.
I'm not.
Well, it's all planned out in my head. Like, I've got it all, like, because I've been thinking about it while I've been showering and walking and etc. So, like, I've really, like, it's more just like, it's like hitting a tape recorder for my brain, and it's just like
Comes
all
out.
of it, get it out on the
Brain
paper,
done.
get out there. So
I
it's
think I
putting that down on paper at that point.
I think
And
I
I
read
think
that
so,
about
too.
Danielle Steele too, that she like stares at a wall and like thinks of the story and has it all in her head. And then when she sits down, it's just like, blah, blah, blah. She just vomits it out.
Yeah, that's it. It's vomit. Yes.
Oh.
But it's fun.
Okay.
It's so fun doing that.
Book
Mine,
vomit.
I love that part, like
Yeah.
the vomiting part. It's so fun.
I have a story pretty firmly in my head, but it is never a vomit for me, because there are always things that I don't think about, and character development that doesn't feel right once I start writing it, or, all these things. I just don't. I wish I could do that.
That is actually the biggest bummer, when you like have an idea in your head and you start writing it and it's not coming out the way you want it to. And you're like, oh no, like you don't know until you're writing it. You're like, and you're like, I thought I had this. I thought that this was perfect in my head. And now that it's on paper, it's just not right. And you just don't know until you're writing it. Like it's like a surprise. Like, I thought this sounded good, but it's not.
Yeah, and it always takes me a minute to get a handle on my characters too, especially in this genre when you're writing about, and especially when you've got people who present one way on the page and then turn out to be a different way. That is so hard for me to walk that line. Like, how do you do that in 2 or 3 weeks? I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard. It's just, I think over the last 10 years, like, I couldn't have written a book in 2 weeks 10 years ago. It's just like one of those things, like, trying to think of an example, like something that, like, you're really slow at first, and then the more you do it, like, I'm teaching my daughter how to sew, and like at first, like, she was like making these like little she's making this little terrifying doll. But like at first it would take her like 2 hours to just sew this like one little circle. And now it's like, 5 minutes she's got the circle. So it's kind of like that, like circle being
Practice.
fit, I guess, for
Yeah.
body.
Um,
Or to sew those creepy buttons on for eyes. It just takes her a second now. But at first it took her so long. So I feel like it's kind of like that. Like the more I do it, like somewhere between book 12 and book 22, like it just started getting a lot faster.
Okay, so I have a couple more books then before I hit my stride.
5 more books and you'll be down to like 2 days.
So Heather, I think it's that time.
Yeah, we could talk forever, but we are moving on to our next bit, which people will also love because Freida is giving away 5 copies of The Teacher tonight. 5 lucky U.S. Killer Author Club viewers. So it doesn't matter if you're watching us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. We scour the comments everywhere we stream, but please make sure to shout out where you're from. So the question, though, that you have to answer is, what is Freida's day job? Drop the answer to that in the question or into the comments, and we will choose 5 winners across platforms, and you will be the lucky winner of a copy of The Teacher.
Yay. All right. And the Killers love our indies, and we want to support them in any way we can. That's why we've partnered with bookshop.org and have our very own Killer Author Club store on their website, where you can find all of our books from guest, past, present, future, as well as some fun lists the 3 of us have put together. We'll be dropping this link in the comments, but in the meantime, and speaking of indies, Freida has selected Belmont Books in Belmont, Massachusetts as her favorite indie. Freida, can you tell us why this store is special to you?
This is the most amazing bookstore. When I, wanted to start, people kept asking me for signed copies, and I had no idea how to get them to people. And Belmont has been so great about helping me get these signed. And it's a huge process because there are a lot of them. They come to my house, and they're so nice, and they're so kind to my readers. Like, readers will come to me, and like they'll be like, the people at that store are so nice. And like it works both ways, because Belmont will say to me like, I love your readers, they're so great. So they're such a great store, and I hope after you buy my books, you should buy some of their other books too, because they sell other books, not just mine. Please buy their books.
They have a whole store of just Freida books.
I bet they do.
They have a lot of other great books there.
Oh, that's great.
I love it. All right. Well, I just dropped it in the comments, so make sure to stop in next time you're in town. And as much as we'd love to invite every amazing killer author to be featured on our show, there are so many fantastic authors and only 3 of us. But we can't let this evening go by without celebrating 2 very special authors, both of whom are offering up a copy of their brand new release. The first is The Woman on the Ledge by Ruth Mancini, released on January 16th. So this one is already out. And like I said, she's giving away a copy. Obsession, Intrigue, Revenge. Whose secrets are you keeping and why? An edge-of-your-seat thriller about a woman accused of murder who claims she's innocent, but knows far more than she's letting on. That one is the first one. And then the other is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This one came out on January 2nd, and you might have heard about this one from Reese Witherspoon. It was her pick for January, and here's what she had to say. This story follows Evie Porter, who is seemingly living the perfect life until we realize Evie Porter doesn't actually exist. This fast-paced read has everything you could want in a thriller: secret identities, a mysterious boss, and a cat and mouse game that kept me guessing the whole way through. I did not expect that ending, and neither did I. I read this book. It was fantastic. Yeah. It is also soon to be a Hulu series produced by Octavia Spencer and Grey's Anatomy showrunner Kristen Fernhoff. So I will be dropping the link to both of those books in the comments, but in the meantime, comment if you'd like to win a copy of either or both of those.
And we have another book to celebrate. Kimberly recently revealed her cover of her new one, Paris Widow. Look at that gorgeous cover. It hits the shelves on June 11th, 2024. So congratulations, Kimberly. That's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a sneaky little surprise. I totally forgot to put that in the script, didn't I?
I just want
And
to say
Freida
I
was
read it
sweet
and
enough.
it was such a good book, Kimberly. I really, really enjoyed it. I was like, couldn't put it down. I was like, this book was just what I needed. It was so fun. I really liked it.
Thank you. That means a ton. Thank you so much.
Well, membership has its privileges. So if you're on Facebook, check out our private members only group called the Killer Author Clubhouse. This is the place for the really hardcore killers, where we share book recommendations, have all sorts of murderous fun, and hold giveaways. Every episode, we choose a name from the Killer Author Clubhouse hat to win a piece of swag. T-shirts, mugs, candles, tote bags, hats, all of which that can be found at our store on thekillerauthorclub.com. And tonight's winner of swag is Chang Y. Kuan. So congratulations to Chang. We will reach out to you, or you reach out to us and send us your address, and we'll send some killer swag your way. Congratulations.
And now, Freida, we have some really good news for you. You have officially survived the Killer Author Club. I knew you were worried about it, but here you go. You did it. So we just put this big badge right over your face to celebrate your survival.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm not going to say what my secret fear is that I told you guys about before, but
Oh,
thank God. Thank God. And
It
thank
didn't
you
happen, which we're
to
so glad. We
my-
would have
my
put that
blood
badge
and
right
my
over your
breath.
face. Yeah, keep drinking. We would have put that badge right over your face. Anyway, we really appreciate you being here, and we will send you a copy of that so you will always fondly remember your time here. And it wasn't as bad as you thought. So there.
Not as bad as I thought. That's like the best thing you can say about anything.
Exactly.
Well, I am honored. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, guys, that does it for tonight's episode. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. And of course, thanks to Freida for being here. We will see you right back here on February 6th with the fabulous Tara Laskowski at 9 ET, 6 p.m. Pacific to talk about her new book, The Weekend Retreat. And that is on February 6th, if I did not say that already. And of course, she'll be giving away some copies as well. And I'm sure we'll have some more surprise copies to give away in the show as well. In the meantime, please find us wasting entirely too much time on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all the socials, all the places. And for all the information you need, times, upcoming schedule, past episodes, recipes, and merch, surf to killerauthorclub.com. Thanks for being here.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Freida.
I get tired